on the ground, all seated on the ground.
If music be the food of love, then surely what the Owls of Pill do is when they play on, they give us success, not just of goodwill and good fortune, but they really appeal to that creative part of all of our hearts and release those happy endorphins, so we know that we're not just enjoying the music, but we are actually helping people like me who are blind and low vision.
The original idea when the Owls were started was to raise money for the blind of Somerset, because I imagine in 1919 a lot were coming back from the war, and of course there wasn't the welfare that there is now. So we are sight orientated.
When I was 16, I had an accident. It was at school and I collided with the door. From then I felt quite unwell and took myself off and went to sleep for a few hours, and then when I woke up there was nothing. I was terrified. I didn't quite know whether I was dreaming or whether I was actually really here, you know, alive. I went to hospital. We saw an ophthalmologist, and the 5 words that the ophthalmologist said to me completely devastated my life. The 5 words she said to me were, "You will never see again." And from that day, I struggled with coming to terms with the fact that I would never be able to see that sunlight coming through the window.
And it shall be the sign, and it shall be the sign. Glory be.
When I was probably 14, 15 years old, was the first year the Owls bought a guide dog outright.
The cost of a guide dog is around £56,800. That isn't actually what the guide dog owner will have to pay, I'm glad to say.
As a guide dog owner, all I have to do is to part with 50p. Now, you might think 50p, that's awfully cheap for a guide dog that costs £56,800 to train and support through their lifetime, right? And of course it seems crazy, but the very good reason that Guide Dogs does that is not to exclude people who are blind and low vision because of their socio-economic standing. And that's why I personally really do have, you know, that note pressed when we talk about the Owls of Pill, because they are out there in the community. They're the volunteers who make up £22.6 billion last year of volunteer time to make lives better for people like you and me. And let's not forget that everybody watching this now is one condition away from blindness or vision impairment.
We're very fortunate that the National Eye Research Centre, which was founded 32 years ago, has for half of its time benefited from support from the Owls of Pill. Over the last 16 years, they've very generously granted us more than £55,000, and medical research is really expensive. Every year we have had anything from £2,000 to £5,000, and it's just made such a difference, because when you put it together with all the other donations of that kind, it really does amount to something that is really significant.
The first year I went out, 68, we had a record collection of £76. When you consider last year we made 24,000, that's quite a leap.
Other than eyesight-related charities, the Owls have supported many other worthy causes.
Jessica May Purrington, who was a little girl who died aged 4.5 months old. She died at home in her father's arms, and it was because of that they wanted to enable other families in the Bristol area to benefit and have the same choice as they did.
How do you capture the wind on the water? How do you count all the stars in the sky? How can you...
We lost our first boy at the age of 4 from leukemia, and the village, well, they were marvellous.
Jessie May is a children's hospice at home. So basically we support children who have a life-limiting condition, which means that they are children who are expected to die before they reach adulthood. We are there with that family throughout their journey, from really the point of diagnosis right the way through until death, and as I said, beyond. So it's a much more extensive service than the NHS is able to provide. We got 183 families at the moment, and that's Bristol, North Somerset, South Gloucestershire, Bath, Swindon and Wiltshire.
To run an operation like Jessie May requires a significant financial investment.
Altogether, we're talking about just over £1 million a year.
So we are in close contact with these charities, and we're quite content that the money that we raise and people put in the hat is used to the best advantage.
I can't thank the Owls of Pill enough for all of their support. On behalf of the National Eye Research Centre, thank you very much again.
One thing I want to say is to thank the Owls for all their support that they've given, which has been fantastic, and so important to us is knowing that we can rely on that support.
Thank you for the money they've raised for guide dogs, because without that money we wouldn't have our next dog. What you're doing is very good, and it means that people like myself can live our lives as we hope to.
There's a principle in the charity sector called why. Clearly, like the Owls of Pill, every charity has a reason that they do what they do. But also the principle works like this. Why? It's what we notice. In this case, they're singing. It's how it makes us feel, and it makes us feel good. It releases those stress endorphins, and then it gives us that yearning to go out and do something. Now, the evidence shows that you're 7 times more likely to go out and do something positive or any call to action they may put out as a result of somebody just really flagging that up. So, you know what? The Owls of Pill, they do good music, but they also change lives.